on Main Street, beautiful Bandera, Texas. All council members are present, and from our staff, we have our administrator, our treasurer, our attorney, our marshal, our grant specialists. Thank you all for being here tonight. If y'all will join me in the rise for our communication and our Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. Thank you for the divine love that we witness through one another. That is your creation. I know that this love blesses and multiplies all the good we are, have, what we give and receive. So may we join tonight for the betterment of this community and hold you in our hearts and our minds as we make decisions for the city. In your name we pray. Amen. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Item 3 is visitors to be heard. Are there any visitors that have signed up? Thank you. We'll move along to item 4, our consent agenda. Item A, approval of minutes from the August 27th, 2024 public hearing and regular meeting, the September 4th, 2024 special meeting, and the September 10th, 2024 regular meeting. Motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Thank you, Tony. And a second by Glenn Palmer. All in favor? All in favor, none opposed. Item 5 is our staff reports, and item A is our marshal's office reports. Marshal Foster, good evening.
I was gonna provide you with a little bit more information this time instead of just bring up a bunch of stats, but I will give you some stats. In August of 2024, our deputies handled 90 calls and made 668 security checks throughout the city. I did get some interesting numbers from our dispatch at the sheriff's. This is the ranges from July 1st to July 31st instead of August, but it was interesting. We had some response times for our priority 1 calls, and from dispatch to arrival on scene, our average is 2 minutes and 7 seconds. I thought was impressive. We did 3,962 miles traveled in the month of August. And some more interesting things. We have our body cams and our docking stations from our new laptops that should be arriving this week. The docking stations, the laptops, and some other computer items were a result of a $22,500 grant from the Peterson Foundation. Staff is very excited about that. We've been sharing 2 body cams for probably about a year and a half. So each deputy is going to have their own assigned to them, which I feel they take better care of things when they're assigned. Same as the laptops, and then we'll have 1 laptop and 1 body cam that the reserves will share. We had an interesting partnership that began this week. We're partnering with the FBI, CGIS, and an entity called NDEX, which is a data integration system that was started after 9/11, when all the different law enforcement entities had difficulties communicating the information that they had and sharing it. So this began back after 9/11, started by the FBI. As of today, there are 8,554 agencies currently contributing data to index. And that means 1.4 billion searchable records. And what that means to us is that the lack of resources that we've had in things like this in this rural community is going to be really helpful for this. So we shared the data that we like to opt in for, whether it's the arrests or offense or what type of crimes happen here. And then we get to go into the portal and search for all these different agencies. And there have been some really, really good success stories. And we just started this and spoke to our CopSync software vendor, Logic. I spoke with their COO, and she and her team jumped on a conference call with the FBI and CGIS earlier this week, and they're very excited to offer this to all of their clients in Texas. So it's kind of been, I don't know how we stumbled upon it, but it's a great resource, and it's going to give us a lot better opportunities to solve crimes and share that data with different agencies across the United States. So that, and then some fun things. Rumble on the River will be this weekend, the 27th and the 28th. And we are going to revisit our trunk or treat this Halloween. This will be Thursday, October the 31st. We are going to start it a little earlier this year. It's a school night, so we want to get the kiddos home before it gets too dark. So it'll be from 5 to 7 instead of 6 to 8 like it was last year. We've also recruited the Boys and Girls Club to help us with some games for the kids. And we will have 1 and possibly 2 dance performances happening during the trunk or treat. We're moving the judging of the trunk or treat to the very beginning of the event so that everybody gets their awards while people are still there and acknowledge them. And we're adding cotton candy and popcorn. We're gonna have the photo booth again. And we had some problems with parking last year. I think that was one of our biggest challenges. And I haven't sealed the deal, but I do have an entity that is going to offer us some shuttling services with their side-by-side, so everybody can park in the city park and then be shuttled to the event instead of trying to park on the streets and have all that going on. Not done yet, but hopeful. And lastly, we're looking for some volunteers. I need an MC for the costume contest. I need some judges for the trunk or treat, and we would like to ask for some help with the setup. That's all I got. Questions?
Okay, thank you.
5 to 7 this year.
All right, item B under staff reports is our grant updates. Susan?
Hello. Good evening, City Council. So there's not an update to the spreadsheet that we handed out in August meeting because it's quarter by quarter. So there's really not any adjustments to that spreadsheet. Couple exciting things that have happened since then is we had an amazing conversation with Kate Dawson about the upcoming transportation alternative grants, partnering with Kate Dawson, kind of revisiting what we've done in the past, and if we can carry that over to the future. We just got an email. So at the point of that conversation, we were waiting for the grant funding opportunity to be announced. It hasn't officially been announced, but we do have some conversations scheduled. They're preliminary text out conversations coming up in the beginning of October for that funding opportunity, which basically means it's about to come out. So we're gonna get boots in the door and have those conversations to make sure that our project ideas match what the funding opportunities are for TxDOT. So we're really excited about that. We also met, by the way, thank you very much for the Department of Interior grant opportunities. It's a group of several funding opportunities for kind of has a spectrum. It's water reclamation, conservation, utility repairs, improvements. It's under an array of grant names. We had a great conversation with Jonathan from Argera about which of those grant opportunities are going to be the best fit for the city. I have a couple of phone calls into each grant opportunity has a different representative. So reaching out to those people to make sure that our needs are going to match their opportunities. None of those grants are due yet. A lot of them, we're kind of in a lull in the grant season. Things start picking up at the end of the year and then definitely beginning of the new year. So, those are some exciting opportunities. Been searching for grants for a gateway sign. I've identified a couple of different organizations that might be a good fit for us. Their funding opportunities aren't open until probably again after the new year, but some really interesting programs, especially through the National Endowment of Arts, actually. So looking forward to those opportunities, as well as with rainwater catchment systems, looking for something to help us with, potential program for that water reclamation. I'm kind of hoping that we'll be able to find that opportunity through the Smart Water, which is that Department of Interior kind of group of grants that are coming up. But again, that's something we're still kind of massaging. There's some other ideas that Stan and I have come up with, but I think Stan will bring those to you at a later date when we kind of really define what ideas that we have. That is really about all I have for the update. Does anyone have any questions or any grants that you know of that I can add to my list? Go ahead, Deb.
I have a question. I didn't catch it at the last council, but we've had these marathon sessions, so I'm probably tired. But, so months back, there was a grant for a vehicle for the for the marshal's department. It was not on the list. Is that done? Or why is that one not on the list? Or
I think it is on that list.
It is on the list. So that grant is actually older than I am, my tenure here. That started through the marshal's office, right when I started. We submitted with the partnership between me and mostly the marshal's office at that time, submitted an application. That particular funding opportunity isn't necessarily drop dead deadline, it's when they're out of money. That funding opportunity ran out of money. The contactor reached back out to the city and said, hey, we have found an alternative funding pocket of money. So we had to resubmit all of our documents, well, not all, but a huge part of our documentation to that representative, and we're in the process where we're waiting to hear back. So that's
every revolving kind of every year thing, right?
Again, it's not even a revolving, it's when they're funded, it's until they expire all those funds.
So was it on the list?
It's on
Yeah,
August, the
it's on-
first quarter of
it's on our list.
2023, that $50,000, that
Mhm.
refers to that one for the vehicle.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so,
So we're still in the running with it, everything's submitted and we're just waiting to hear from them?
Yeah.
Because we kind of made some assumptions with our budget,
Well, I think they've hinted that, they haven't had any money for a while, several months, if not a year, so they've hinted that they're gonna get funded soon to give out this money.
yeah, like I said, the representative, Minnesota, USDA, she actually reached back out to us and said, the first opportunity had expired, but we have this unexpected pot of money, please do X, Y, Z things to complete your application. And, hopefully you can get funding from this pocket. So we're just waiting on them, we're crossing our fingers, but yeah, until we get that funding letter, all fingers and toes. Any other questions?
I would just say really be on the lookout with Texas Department of Agriculture. Steve Miller's been talking a lot about water conservation in the media and platforms that he
Yeah,
uses, so.
There's probably 17 or 18 grants that are just in different stages of hold. They're established grants that are either annual or biannual, and it's just waiting for those funding opportunities to come out to really jump on them. But like the Tropical Alternatives grant, you just have to be watching and waiting. So, all of those same grants that we applied for, again, with everyone's permission, we plan to attack them all again this year, or this upcoming 25-26.
Thank you, staff, and yes, go ahead.
Has anybody reached out to the Gronkowski Foundation, the gentleman that came here to speak to us about a year ago?
Rudy's no longer with Gronkowski, and the way I understand it, Gronkowski doesn't fund municipalities, but they would potentially fund nonprofits in partnership with municipalities, and so there's kind of different ways to make those things happen sometimes, or to access some funding, but it takes a public-private sort of partnership typically.
I know they're going to give away money specifically.
But we can definitely pursue that and see what they're.
And I think we should reach out.
Of course,
If there were a good partnering nonprofit, there would be, I think, a lot of qualifying programs that we would be interested in. And I also want to thank the council for keeping your eye out for opportunities. And, that, like Susan mentioned, that if something comes across my email, I'll forward it to her, Stan, into it. So having everybody with their eyes on that stuff is really great. Tony, thanks for keeping the momentum going with the sidewalk.
yeah. And another piece is that the grant sphere isn't just looking for the grants that are out there, it's managing the grants that we have. And so, we're about to kick off the flood infrastructure. We're about to, in the beginning stages of our hazardous waste material grant. We're starting to close that. There's a lot of back end things that happen and for grants that take, we're still closing out several of the grants that have been completed. So, there's also a lot of activity going on that end of, getting those people, taking care of it from, A to Z.
Keep up the good work.
Well, thank you very
We
much.
need those grants.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Susan. Of course. All right, we will move on to item 6, discussion and possible action on the following items. A, approval of resolution 2024030, authorizing publication and posting of notice of intention to issue certificates of obligation to finance capital improvements. Stan.
I'm gonna stand right here instead of walking over there.
Sure.
Hi, I'm gonna introduce Ben Rosenberg. He's our financial advisor. He's been with the city for several years and does a great job for us, and I've enjoyed working closely with him over the last year. And we've worked closely on a lot of these grants. 2 of them you'll hear about tonight that are 2 separate grants, item 6A and 6B. 6A, and of course, you always see the financial advisor when it gets close to issuing debt, so that's why he's here today for item 6A. But we have worked closely over the last year on these grants, and they're both pretty exciting opportunities. The first one, so the public knows, is a $3 million issuance out of a $4.4 million project. We were given $1.4 million given to us by a grant. The $3 million is interest-free loan. We have to sell the bond still. But that's great that it's interest-free, but this would be this project will be for planning, acquisition, and design of this new sewer plant. Everything except construction. So we're gonna go back to the Texas Water Development Board this spring, amend that project for just construction only. So we're breaking it up a little bit here and moving forward. And the second grant is for $2.7 million. The second item he's gonna speak about is on $2.7 million of water improvements in the city. Has nothing to do with the sewer plant, but that is a 90% grant and only 10% match. So anyway, without further ado, Ben.
All right, and also, Ben Rosenberg with U.S. Capital Advisors. Pleasure to serve as financial advisor since about 2017. And we worked on some financing for the water tower project and the flood project. And Susan also doing a lot. She can take any thunder. He told all the good stuff, free money. My thunder, she's done very instrumental working on these water development board projects. And so I have a little bit of background here, and I kill a lot of trees because I like paper. But this since 2017, we've been talking about the sewer project, the relocating sewer plant. And we've applied every year to the Water Development Board. They have, as you know, they serve as a bank, and they were founded back after the drought of the 50s to fund water and sewer projects in the state. and that's all they do. And they have two programs, drinking water for water and clean water for sewer projects. And there's some free money that's available, and each year, all the cities apply. They have hundreds of cities apply, and they rank those based on all these criteria, economic economic status of each entity, cost factors. And so this last year was the first year we thought we ranked high enough to actually apply to get some free money. That project was about $15 million total. And so we got the where we ranked, and the funding termination level was only about $4 million. We didn't think we were ready to step off on a $10 million loan. So we asked the board if we could separate this project. Due to the length of the project anyway, it's hard to spend all that money in a year's time. So we separated the project of planning, acquisition, and design, 4.4 million, and of that we got 3 million zero interest loan and 1.4 million free money. So again, this started several years ago, and I have the handout here is just the first couple pages, 3, 4, and 5, are an engineer's request to do that, to split the construction out and the revised project total. And then on page 6 and 7 is the actual board approval. It was just last Thursday they approved this loan, this project, and this amount of money, $3 million for zero interest and 1.4 free money. So that's the first project. So my job as a financial advisor is to make sure you can afford this and make sure that we're not getting in over our head. So the next page is 8, 9, and 10. You've seen this before, the financial history of the city. And we know it's the city is two basic operating funds. Your main revenues are water and sewer revenues and taxes, and you have other revenues. But those are your main two drivers. So that's what they look at to see, can you afford this kind of debt? So the first page 9 is your general fund. Again, the general fund takes care of all the general activities of the city. Each year you have a positive year. This last year we were just short a little bit in 2023, but your fund balance at the bottom is well above the 25 to 30% minimum that they'd like to see. So your general fund is looking good. I mean, it's not big numbers though, so it doesn't take a lot to skew the percentages, but you're doing what you can to keep your books in order. That's good. General fund. The water and sewer fund on page 10 and 11 shows, again, positive operating revenues. Last year was down a little bit. We're almost done. This is into 23. So the last audit we had was from 9/23. We're about done with this fiscal year, so those numbers will be revised probably, but hopefully a little bit higher. We're thinking they're going to be a little higher. And then page 11 shows the net revenues. They allow you for debt purposes to add back in depreciation since that's a non-cash expense. And so your number that we're going to look forward going forward is $492,000. That's how much money you have to sort of cover your debt payments. And then last time when we were here, we borrowed in 2019. They gave us a covenant basically saying, if you look at our 2019 cash, it was only like $11. You need more money in cash. And so the city can see your history since 23 has built up nice reserves in your water and sewer fund also. So you're doing, I mean, for as small as you are, you're doing everything you can to cut your numbers, make income, your fund balance and your reserve requirements are being met. So that's good news. But before we look at any new debt, we have to consider your existing debt. So on page 14 shows the two other water non-board loans that you have. The 2018, which was the water tower project. You can see that interest rate was a little below 2% area. And then in 21, you got the flood mitigation project, which I think was about $3 or $4 million, also free money, and you had about $3 million loan at zero interest. And then, so that your total debt payments now are about $250,000. So that's what they have to consider going forward. And then the next page shows the pro forma analysis. They put it all together and they show your, on the leftmost column, your water and sewer revenues, the 492 that we saw before. You currently have a tax, an INS tax rate of about 4 cents to help cover that debt. That brings another $54,000. So your total revenues to cover all your obligations are a little over $550,000. Your existing debt's $245,000, and this new debt is about $100,000 a year, $105,000 a year. So you have a minimum debt requirement, rate covenant of 1.0 coverage. You have well over 2%. So as your financial advisor, this is something you need to do. It's a good opportunity for the city. your revenues are sufficient without any additional rate increases or taxes, you can cover this debt, no problem. Okay, so the instrument that we're using is a certificate of obligation. That a statute is required, that's governed by the state statute that says to do that, your council tell this public it's our intent to borrow this money, $3 million, not to exceed, since there's no interest, it'll be not to exceed $3 million. And we're gonna put a notice in the paper for 2 consecutive weeks, and then I'll be back here in 2 months. You're gonna wait 45 days before you can actually borrow the money. So we're not borrowing any money tonight. We're just telling the citizens it's our intent to borrow the money. That's what the statute requires. And if you pass the resolution and we go to the timetable, there's a lot of stuff we have to do between now and then. Put a notice in the paper for 2 consecutive weeks on the same day, and be a different day, it'll be the same day, 2 consecutive weeks. I will be back here on Tuesday, November 26th, where you actually borrow the money. And that's the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. And we need a super quorum to be here, because the instrument allows you to pay this debt from taxes or water and sewer revenues. You could do a water and sewer revenue bond, but you can only pay it from water and sewer revenue. So we felt this was the best instrument, because over 30 years, who knows, you want to have the flexibility to pay from taxes or revenues. So the statute requires, it's a tax pledge, it's a tax back pledge, requires super quorum to be here to pass that. And if you're not here, then we got to start over the notice, and it can be a problem. So if that's a problem date to me, then we need to reschedule. It has to be a regular scheduled meeting. We need at least 4 to 5 here. So I'll tell you that now. I know it's
Everybody in town for
it's a holiday week.
Do you have a question?
Are they able to zoom in?
I'm gonna defer to Dan on that one.
As long as it meets the requirements of the statute, but you have to have a quorum. Well, you wouldn't, so, because you have to have a quorum here. So if you have to have a super quorum here, we need,
So let's finish with this topic real quick.
All right, and then there's all these dates, and Water Development Board has 15 days prior to closing, 25 days prior to closing. So it's really important that the timing is set. Then if the time doesn't meet your requirements, we need to change the council meeting date. We were trying to get it closed before the end of the year. The AG's office closes after the last 2 weeks of the year, so if we don't close on that Friday the 20th of December, then we'll have to push it till after the year, end of the year. So it's all keyed off your regular scheduled meeting dates, and then their date requirements backing from when the.
Can we back up to November 12th, or do we not have time with the public notices?
It's not 45 days from
45,
the
okay.
first notice.
And so how about the first meeting of December?
Then we won't have enough time to close by the end of the year, because we have to have it, they require at least 30 days from when you borrow them or you pass the ordinance, approving this ordinance, the issue of the certificates, at least 30 days. So that would push us into January, which we can do.
Is there a reason it's beneficial to do it in this year versus
Let's get the project started, and you have some discussions in the executive session talking about that. I mean, that you may need the money. I don't know.
So you said up to 3 million. If on November 26th, we don't know exactly, we're kicking the project off, but maybe we don't know exactly what that amount is.
Well, the budget from the.
Or you're saying we're gonna borrow the whole 3 million?
I mean, it's interest free, so.
It's still pretty big payment.
Yeah, well, we're gonna be borrowing.
What is the 45th day?
The 45th day from the first publication in the newspaper next week is what day?
Wednesday of next week.
So, 24th of September, so that's gonna be on.
October 2nd.
October 2nd. So, it's,
And we can't call a special meeting? It's be a regularly scheduled?
supposed to be a regularly scheduled meeting. Because you're actually borrowing money in essence. That's part of the statute.
Well, there's only 2 regular meetings a month, so if we can't do it early in November, we have to push it to December.
Right, and then we just have to close after the first year. It's just, we can't. Agency's offices close the last 2 weeks of the year, so the attorney general has to approve everything, and so it just takes 30 days from when you approve the sale of the certificates to when we can get them closed. And once they set the dates, you have all these internal deadlines, you have to kick things to them. So if we know the 26th is not going to work, then we need to, we can push it to the 10th of December. We just want to close till January.
It's not the end of the world. We're just trying to do it as soon as possible. Knowing the
This
last 2
started
weeks.
February of last year. So it's not, we're just trying to get it finished because we've been working on talking about it since, for years.
Well, it's nice to be making some progress.
On the forgiveness portion, we had qualified for up to 70%. Did we not get 70% forgiveness because of where we ranked and the available funding?
I was here in January, I think, when we got the fund determination letter in the summer. And the maximum they gave us was the 4.4 million. Because the people above us had taken the, that's all they had left when they got to us. So it's up to 7% if the money's available.
Right. And the money just was not
That
there.
was all left.
Okay.
And we were ranked 13th, right?
13.
I think so, yeah.
Hopefully we'll rank higher next time. We know what they're looking for
And it's all about the applicant pool. I mean, because the
and the project.
the current fiscal year, they just started again, we weren't ranked as high, like 19.
Yeah.
So, but
Did improve.
this will be next month, we start the process again on the construction only.
Yeah.
Because we had a pad on with extra points.
Yeah, we get extra points it's going forward. Plus, it's also about how much money you have to give out. I mean, if you're giving out 300 million versus $1 billion,
Right.
then you go farther down the
It
list
changes
too.
every year.
But all we have to do right now is authorize a publication. So that's what this
But in there, it
resolution.
does have a date.
Oh, we have to adjust the
We
dates.
tell the
though.
date, we tell the public we're gonna be back here to issue the debt on this date. So we need to change the notice. I don't have the actual wording, the notice that came from the lawyers, from the newspaper. So if we're,
How many people are gonna be there then? Because I've read.
No, I'm
And the first regular meeting in December would be the 10th.
everybody said they would be here on December 10th.
Can everybody be here on December 10th?
So Ben, I see in the exhibit,
Regular scheduled meetings. I don't see that November date in the resolution.
It's at the very end of the page, the very end of the document.
It's
Section
exhibit A.
six.
Exhibit A.
Does it say their date?
it does on November 26th.
Yeah.
An exhibit. Now, I haven't looked at the resolution yet.
The exhibit is what's going in the paper.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Yep, that's right.
I'll be here on the 10th.
We do very often not actually have that second meeting in November historically,
Historically, we have.
because it's the week of Thanksgiving. So.
Well, let's move to the 10th. So I'll tell you guys that, and we'll adjust that. We don't have, it doesn't have to go on Monday, next Monday's paper, we've got more time, but I just assume go ahead and run next week.
Oh, yeah, we'll still do, because we can only do it more time, right?
Yeah, you can always leave more time.
Yeah.
It has to be minimum 45 days, and these are on the city's website.
Yeah, you're right, because I was reading the last page, September 24th, which is today.
Yeah.
So I don't see anywhere in there where it's got that date either.
Exhibit A at the very last,
It's on this
second
My
line.
handout is what he's.
Oh, it's
page
exhibit
15.
Yeah,
A. Oh, yeah, exhibit A.
Thank you, there it is.
Okay, sorry.
it's just part of the requirement of the statute.
So do we
Well,
want
the
to put
motion
in?
can just include that adjustment. Go ahead, Tony.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion.
Please do.
I'd like to make a motion to approve resolution 2024-030 and change the date of issuance to December 10th of 2024. That regular meeting.
And Lynn Palmer seconds Tony's motion. Any other comments or discussion, council? All in favor? All in favor, none opposed. Thank you. Then, so item B here is approval of resolution 2024-031, authorizing the application for financial assistance to the Texas Water Development Board and designating certain representatives authorized to act on behalf of the city in relation to said application.
Mayor, on page 16 of the packet, there is a certificate for the resolution. I think you need to record all the A's, I's, O's, abstentions. Do we need to read this whole thing or any part of it?
It's a record
We need a
vote.
record vote for
You need a
this one.
record vote?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, I'm gonna back up to item A and record the vote. I don't have a,
It's page 16. It's a certificate for resolution.
I think it's
oh, it's just a number, it's
Just
not.
whoever vote, yeah,
Mhm.
all in favor, all opposed, and anybody
Okay.
absentee. Yeah, I think that was just, you don't need a name to it for that. Just, we're all here, yes,
Show me that.
and then all in favor, all opposed. Any abstentions?
So we're good?
Okay, we're good.
I think that's.
I'll sign it, yeah. So, okay, so we are then, in fact, on item B.
Say anything else?
No,
or-
no,
okay.
go ahead.
So I have a couple of items here, in the package starting on page 19. This is a new opportunity for, water system improvements. Part of the 88th Texas legislature, they approved $1 billion from the rainy day fund to be allocated for water and sewer projects. We passed that, was voter approved, that had to be approved by the voters. We did that. They gave the money to the Water Development Board, and then so they're figuring out how to disseminate this money. They agreed to do this, what they call a Rural Water Assistance Fund, which has been around for a long, one of their financing instruments. They put, money into that, or a big chunk of money into that, of $1 billion. And that's what this program is from. The city had a project listed in the, Drinking Water State Revolving Fund, about $2.9 million for, water system improvements. The city was ranked number 9 on that list. This is a 90% principal forgiveness. And so, then on page 22 is the invitation to apply. So all we're doing tonight is authorizing us to submit the application for this $2.7 million, of which, the city would, if you need to borrow any money, would be about $275,000 of the $2.7 million. So, applications are due, we have a pre-app call on Friday, application due in October. It's gonna take them at least 4 months or so until we get the fund determination letter to confirm that. This is not, we get the fund determination letter, we don't know, we're gonna get the 90%, but, so that means we'll probably be back here in the spring to provide that information to you. And then, so that's what, that's all we're doing today is authorize and submit the application on your behalf for that. And the one that we'll hand out today is separate. I did go in and add that the pro forma analysis. One will hand out like this, just to show that if we borrow that money for 20 years of payments, $15,000 to $20,000. So again, you have well adequate coverage for that. And, payments aren't gonna kick in until 26, 27. So, again, financially, I think you can handle that. I'd recommend you go forward with the application for now. And any questions? If you have any questions?
So the resolution, the application, filing and authorized representative resolution that you have in our packet is this, do we have one? Do we have our own resolution?
No, this is what the bond council submitted and the city attorney approved that we could use this resolution right now.
Right, great. Yes, Lynn?
So I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2024-031, authorizing the application for financial assistance to the Texas Water Development Board and designating certain representatives authorized to act on behalf of the city in relation to said application.
We have a motion and a second. And so who are the representatives authorized here, those identified?
In section 2 right there. Yourself, mayor, city secretary, and myself.
So by naming mayor, are we gonna have to come back? Can you just name the role and not the individual?
Right, I think,
You know what I mean? I'm not gonna be here.
didn't just say mayor, we just had it for last.
No, it does have all the names.
You're authorized, you're in power today, and you're authorized to submit the application in October.
Update
You'll still
those.
be here.
Okay,
No other action will be needed by the council.
very good. Alright, any other questions or discussion? Sorry, that was a motion by Len and a second by Jeff. Okay. All in favor? All in favor, none opposed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Okay. Item C is consideration of the review of the HOTS fund applications received before the deadline of August 31st, 2024 that qualify for hot tax reimbursement. Stan.
I turn this over to Alice and she has this agenda item.
Okay. Alice. Hi.
So I made y'all a cover sheet that kind of goes over with 7 applications come in, 4 of which are eligible per the policy you guys just passed. This is our first year to go off of that policy, but only 4 of them are eligible, 3 are not because they applied for future events. And part of this new policy is this is a reimbursement only expense. So I still listed them on the second page by the ones that are eligible and the ones that aren't. And then I also gave you guys some more information as far as what we've budgeted to spend this year, what we have spent, and then what our claim on cash amount is. So on the spreadsheet, it breaks it down by the organization, the event, the amount they requested, and then the amount we gave them in the past if we've given them money in the past.
Alright, so, we've got, you want us to go through these one at a time?
Do you want me to go through them, or I didn't know?
Sure.
Okay. So the Frontier Times Museum, they're applying for money for their Frontier Fund Spring Break Family Days. They're requesting $2,150. We have not given them money in the past. We have the Bandera Pro Rodeo, Memorial Day Weekend Stampede. They've requested $7,000, and in years prior, we've given them $7,000, $7,600, and $7,000 back to 2021. Bandera Pro Rodeo again for Labor Day, they're requesting $4,500. Last year we gave them $35,000. The year before that, a little over $58,000, and then the year before that, $1,100. Writing on. Did somebody have a question?
So is all this advertising only, or, I mean, we don't have the detail, like what the expenses?
So I have the,
Can you just finish the?
it's a lot of, I didn't think y'all wanted
We didn't
all
think
this
we
in your
were gonna have
packets,
it
but we do have it, and we did go through it and make sure everything was supplied that was required.
I'm
But
gonna just finish
y'all
the
can go through this if
table.
you desire.
Sorry.
Riding on Faith Rodeo Summer Series, which was May 31st to July 27th. They're requesting $14,000. Last year we gave them $12,000, the year before that $10,000, and the year before that $9,100. And then the ones that aren't eligible, unfortunately, are all BBA events. We have Riverfest, they're requesting $5,000. Cowboy Christmas, Shoppers Jubilee, $5,000, and then National Day of the American Cowboy, $10,000. And I don't show any record that we've given them money for these events in the past. And then down here at the bottom is the budgeted of the $60,000. We intended to spend on the eclipse. We only ended up spending $14,000, but we did give $50,000 to 11th Street, and then we also spent $3,100 on porta potties on Main Street for Mardi Gras.
So we've actually overspent $7,200, as you can see in that last.
So that's why I provided you the claim on cash amount. That's our fund balance, so we are already over budget.
Well, if you go back to what the council had asked to do with the $50,000 expenditure was to spend that out of reserves, not out of the budgeted fund. So that's That's what was asked at the time of the expenditure.
Yeah.
So what I had been told was that we would just make a budget adjustment, that
Which
that did not come. So it's all,
we can still do. I mean, essentially it all comes from the same.
I know,
The same
but to
funds,
present
though,
it
but-
as if we're over budget, I don't think is an accurate description when that was the expressed desire of the council at the time.
Okay.
So,
We haven't done any budget adjustments this year. We kind of agreed we were gonna do them at the end of the year, so that's something we can still definitely do. And then that 50,000 will be back in there, but we haven't done any of those
so
yet.
these expenditures do fit within the fiscal year's budget. And then with the Riverfest Cowboy Christmas Shoppers Jubilee and National Day of the American Cowboy, did the BBA know that they could change their applications to submit for last year's reimbursement instead of requesting for the upcoming year's events?
That was in the application in a couple different places in bold writing.
I
That was for
wasn't-
reimbursements.
I wasn't given the applications until after the deadline, so I don't know
Yes, ma'am.
if they were told.
Arlene is here tonight, and we might give her a chance to speak, but I did get to visit with her a little bit, and there was a little miscommunication on what she thought she could submit the application for. She thought that she was submitting the application for the events that are gonna happen next year and not for reimbursement. She did all three of these events
That's what I
this year between 2023 and 2024. I would ask that maybe the council maybe think about that and possibly funding that, but that's just my thought on that.
Yeah, that's why I brought it up too. So Arlene, do you know what I'm asking about? As far as, do you have documentation to apply for reimbursement for last year's events?
I do.
You do.
I do. I have all those applications. I was confused between EDC being reimbursable and then hot tax funds. What's the difference? If one funds it, I'm not gonna apply for the other one. You know, so it's a little confusing as far as which one was reimbursable and which one was earmarked on how much we're gonna need to put on that event. So it was a little confusing on, we have to turn it in by September. So I have the receipts that happened this year. I was looking for funding because Christmas Jubilee is coming up now. I didn't get any money for any of those events from any entity.
So I'm just thinking that council could grant an extension based on,
Or you can just, it's ultimately up to council's wishes. You can consider these three reimbursement for the past events as opposed to the future events like they apply if you want.
but is the application complete for applying for reimbursement? It's not. No, that's, Dan, that's.
Yeah,
what
we
do.
don't, yeah, you don't have the
We need to
information.
just give them time
Yeah.
to get that in.
Correct.
So.
Could they approve it subject to all the material being submitted?
We just bring it back when they have it done.
I'm just trying to see it a little bit.
My concern is we're already at the end of the fiscal year, so if we're pushing it out, that's gonna push out closing out our year and starting our audit.
Yeah, I'm not in favor of pushing it out. We have deadlines and we put them in place for a reason. If we can make exceptions, that's one.
Well, we don't know how much to approve without the complete and full application. So if you don't wanna fund it,
Bring it in
you
October.
don't fund it, but we can have it on the first meeting in October.
I think you could,
Or just allow the BBA too.
or you could fund it not to exceed. Have these amounts, so that way we're not,
But these aren't actuals from what we spent.
no, but it'd be a not to exceed.
It'd be something.
Dan, do you have a recommendation for council?
So you've adopted a policy that staff is following. So, and that policy is not on the agenda. So if you're suggesting that you're wanting to change that policy or you're wanting to make a one-time change to that policy, or, it just needs to be clear what the direction of the staff is. If you want to approve it subject to staff reviewing the materials, you can do that. We don't have that in the packet as far as what that, you did one resolution or did you do resolutions for each one?
These are-
We have it listed as all four of those are,
So yeah, I mean, changes would have to be made, based on what your approval is, but you can do that if you're trying to get that in this fiscal year, which is what Allison is suggesting.
Are you saying that we need to approve these expenditures by resolution?
Normally, that's what you've done.
And
I
we
was
don't
under the
have a
impression.
resolution.
that's right. We followed the city attorney's advice to do it this way. We're gonna bring back the actual resolutions based on who you award money
fund.
to.
Okay. So the resolution is coming back at the next regular meeting.
You're approving the applications.
And the funding amount.
On those three, you'd be approving an up to amount subject to the staff approving the applications if they submit the information.
So, once again, I know we don't have their exact paperwork, but help me out, Dan, subject to staff review, the council could approve up to a certain amount for the BBA events and the staff's review, because if they supply everything in the next week, when we come back with the resolutions, we can come back with the BBAs included and tell you at that time they met all the requirements, and it would be for that amount, not to exceed.
That sounds great, it's up to council.
Is a week adequate enough time to get everything we need together? Talk about that.
Yes, sir.
Would you like me to make a motion?
Would you like to?
Sure.
I'll just sit here until somebody does, I guess.
I'll make a motion to approve the hot tax reimbursement for 2024 for the Frontier Times Museum Spring Break Family Day of 2150, the Memorial Day Weekend Stompede for Bandera Pro Rodeo of 7,000, Labor Day Weekend Bandera Pro Rodeo of 4,500, and the Riding on Faith Summer Series for 2024, for 2023, for license and reimbursement, I think.
Yes.
For 14,000. And then included in that is Riverfest for 5,000, not to exceed 5,000. Cowboy Christmas Shoppers Jubilee, not to exceed 5,000. And then National Day of the American Cowboy, not to exceed 10,000, as long as they bring the requested information to staff within the next week. It's a long motion.
I'll second.
Thank you, Lynn and Tony. All right, is there any further discussion?
Yeah, I want clarification.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I had a quick question. Did we approve a cap on what we do this?
That's what I was gonna say.
Dispersed to
Any
the
one group?
Yeah,
I thought we did.
I thought we.
Yeah, I read through it, like,
It's in the policy.
we can't exceed 30,000 on that one entity, more than 15,000. So that was gonna be my point is,
Just wanted to make sure we're still within.
yeah, we approve in that motion, that's 47,000, so 17,000 overall policy.
It was 30,000 in one fiscal, that was 60,000, but
But the, number three is no more than 50% annual hot budget be awarded in grants. Then we wanted to set aside funds for internal things.
Okay, so the most we can spend is 30,000, right?
Is the 50% max on hot expenditure based on our budgeted projection or our actual income?
Says no more than 50% of the annual hot budget. So I would assume budgeted
Budget.
amount.
Okay,
So the
which was
60.
60, so. Well, so I'm gonna go ahead and call for a vote on that, so we can just start over and not mess with amendments and things. So We have a motion on the table in a second, and then basically an objection based on the policy. So I'll take a vote, all in favor? All opposed? All opposed, motion fails. So let's rethink this a little bit, maybe crunch a bit.
So the 106,000 is without the 50,000 that hasn't been adjusted. Is that correct?
Our budget's 60,000, that's what we're
Right.
working on.
But it's 50%
Of 60.
of 60.
To answer your question, Jeff, the 106,000 does include the 50,000 coming off of the fund balance. That is your, as of today, fund balance in this account, including all expenditures
So we
and revenue.
spend 50% of that?
No, if I understand the policy that was adopted correctly, council can only spend up to 50% of their annual budgeted revenue, and the annual budgeted revenue is like 60,000.
BPA can't get $20,000.
So the writing on faith, what'll,
Yes, ma'am.
Another important thing was just pointed out is also one entity cannot receive more than 25%
Yeah, that's
of that amount as well.
BPA got that to 4,000.
Yeah.
Nice.
Tony, are you working the numbers over there? Thank you. A minute. Yes, ma'am.
the writing on faith, what all is in the numbers? I mean, the 14,000, what are we are reimbursing the entire event or?
I'm sure
Are they
it
here?
takes a lot for them.
No.
Writing on faith? No.
That's some serious, the whole rodeo.
I
Yeah.
don't know.
Well, they
There's a
provided
big number out
three
there.
Right.
packets of this. This is all their expenses. They provided 3 manila envelopes of expenses, so it's
So you don't have to answer.
advertising.
But I mean, on any of these requested dollar amounts, the council can reduce.
Well, I think we're gonna have to,
And reduce the- You need a pen?
Roughly, when you take into consideration of BBA for 15, we're 42,000, so we gotta shave off 12,000 from the ask. I said the max BBA could get is 15,000, so now you're essentially the amount requested, you had the 15 to the 27,650, you're 42,650, so we gotta shave off 12,650 from,
The top,
cumulatively.
if we give the BBA.
Who can get BBA 10, that's what I'm saying. But that would be all the ask and
The ask is 57.6, so we're gonna shave off 26.
No, he already took 5 off of BBA because they can't receive more than 50%.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so I just added 15,000 from the ask of PBA to the 27,650 from the other four. You have to look at the rodeo and BBA.
Yeah.
That's where it has to come from. so.
Did you get to 30, Jeff? Who's gonna get to 30 first? That's who's gonna get to make the motion.
Well, I mean, my math is right and don't bring me to it, it's a broken small town. And I can make a motion to award 21,500 to Frontier, 5,000 to Memorial Day weekend Stampede, 4,500 to Labor Day, 9,000 to Summer Series, and then if we wanted to approve the BBA at 9,400, I think that puts us right at 30,000.
No,
I'm not wrong.
no, I
Or
think
do we want
you sound like you're on the right track. The only thing I have an issue with is Memorial Day weekend is, I mean, we've been funding that as $7,000 for quite some time. It obviously costs that, at least that amount of money for them to put that on, and I think that's
It's a big draw.
weekend and a big draw. So I would really not want to reduce that one, maybe Labor Day, it's not as big of a draw. So we could reduce that to 3,500. And I did that math, that's 10.5 for the Pro Rodeo Association. I'm fine with the 2150. Riding on Faith, I mean, as much as I love the fact that we're doing those rodeos, 14,000 is a lot, maybe we can just cut that to 10.
I agree.
I mean, the other 7,300 to the VA, but that cuts them.
Then you can do 9
To do
to
9.
Summer Series. And
Right,
then
yeah, I'm okay with that.
I mean, I think we need to look at what's bringing the tourists down, and,
Right.
spring break, Memorial Weekend, Labor Day, there's some. But, I mean, that way everybody gets something. I mean, I hate, we can't fund everything, but. I know that the Pro Rodeo Labor Day, is that for advertising for the rodeo itself? Is because I know that we're funding the or the EDC funding Longhorns.
Right, so if I may, hi, I'm Lisa Kelman, treasurer for Bandera Rodeo. So all our numbers were just advertising. The Longhorns, I didn't even put in there because the EDC graciously took care of that. We just did the procurement of it and organized it, which I think has been a previous agreement that we would do the legwork, but we were not gonna fund it. So, that was a citywide funding portion. And then, so, again, the Labor Day, that was just advertising that we spent for radio and, pamphlets and newspaper and that kind of thing.
I have a proposal.
You wanna hash it out, or do you wanna
Yeah, no, I
just
just
make a
wanna,
motion?
no, I just wanna, just let everyone hear the proposal. So 2,000 Frontier Times Museum, 10,500 for the Bandera Pro Rodeo Association, that's 7,000 for Memorial Day, 3,500 for Labor Day, 9,000 for Riding on Faith, and then 8,500 split between the VBA.
I think that gives everybody a little something.
And remember, BBA is still up to, they have to submit their supporting documentation.
Okay, I'll make
Go
a
ahead,
motion to approve hotel hot tax reimbursement request for 2024 for $2,000 for the Frontier Times Museum Spring Break Family Days, 7,000 for Pro Rodeo Association for the Memorial Day Rodeo, and then 3,500 for Bandera Pro Rodeo for the Labor Day Rodeo, 9,000 for the Riding on Faith Summer Series 2023, and then 8,500 for the VBA split between their 3 events pending their, sets a not to exceed 8,500 pending the information that they owe us.
Motion heard. Second by Debbie Green. Any other discussion? All in favor? All in favor, none opposed, thank you. Item D, reconsideration of resolution 2024-024 for for the facility use agreement with Bandera Methodist Church.
I'll give an update on that.
Okay.
All right, so I met last Monday, I think, with Mr. Gauss, and they rejected our 300 offer. So I wanted to go talk to them and try to understand what was going on. And so basically, I think there was some information that we did not know at the time. So I just want to get it out there, and then we go for it or not. But so the $500 a month, they are actually they've got a bid from Jim Chastain for $57,800 to redo the parking lot there over there. And that will be not for tomorrow, but that will be for so so when it has to be redone, that's the bid for it. They would be the 500 they were requesting for us. They were also going to contribute $500 as well, so that in 4 to 5 years we'd have enough money for the parking lot. So I don't think that we were, or at least I wasn't under that they were matching the amount. So that was one thing. They are going to put posts up on Thursday or tomorrow, or Thursday, and put gates on it. I talked to Jim. Part of the problem is big vehicles are coming in there, and we all agreed that that needs to stop. Cisco trucks, beer trucks, some of the buses from 11th Street. When those bigger vehicles are going to clear the parking lot up faster, obviously. I mean, it will need, it's still in decent shape. I know there's cracking and everything, and there's some missing pavement in the front. We actually walked the parking lot. There is a pothole already there. But we'll have to fill that, but keeping the big trucks off of it would make a big difference. So once they get the new parking lot up, a few years down the road, then if we can keep the big trucks off, it would lessen the load on that.
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry, Debbie was asking.
So basically, that's how they came up with the 500. When we saw it, wow, $1 to 500 and what's going on. But basically, I went back and reviewed the tapes and the information, and we didn't hear everything when we made the decision. So that's kind of how they came up with the information.
Yes, ma'am.
So I guess I would like to ask a few questions of Mr. Giles. What caused you not to go ahead and enter into a lease like we did back in 2003, where you stated the amount that it was going to take? Now, what Debbie was saying is it's going to be the $56,000. Why can't we go back to entering a lease like that with you, where the city is obligated to pay for half of the improvements? What happened that made you not feel like you were going to be able to renew this lease like this?
Well, let me give you a couple of key points to that lease.
Sure.
The parking lot was installed and fully funded by the city. I don't know if EDC had any role in that.
They did.
But we did not pay any of the paving. We entered into the agreement, and the lease was for $1 a year.
Right.
Once you paved it. And so the city actually funded the original establishment of the parking lot and its striping. Neither the city nor us collectively has done a very good job over that 20 years in maintaining it. We use it, our principal use, heavy use would be on Sundays and Wednesday evenings.
Yes, sir.
Our little old ladies in Toyotas are not doing the damage to the, it is, what asphalt people call alligator. We have patched and the patches will go out. Jim, as one of the two companies we had, gave us a bid, the other was over 60,000.
Yes.
The first time it was a little over 40 and was fully funded. So we could enter into another lease like that by simply having the city take responsibility for repaving.
Great.
And the beer trucks and RVs and dualies pulling flatbeds, pulling $5,000 worth of metal is what has done the parking lot in.
Yes, sir.
And it's, although the good news is taken it 20 years.
Yeah.
The issue is that if we've taken full responsibility now, we have full responsibility for all its maintenance and its repair. And the only thing that we can do at this point, if we can't collectively arrive at a target so that we have a parking lot that you can use. You've just got to talk about some key events that are important to the city on a revenue basis, and we believe they are, and we like being a good neighbor. But that parking lot is pretty important to every one of those events that you spoke to. But if we're going to take full responsibility for building the money and the account to save it and pave it, we can't let it be used for anything other than us if we're going to pay the
But if
full
we
freight.
enter into this lease that we will pay half of it, that we will pay half just like we did before.
You
Now,
didn't do before, you did the whole thing before.
we did the whole
So
thing.
they're saying they're gonna, we pay 5, they pay 100, that's the matching that they're talking about. Now, the problem is, we don't own this, the Marshall, it's a private lot. We can't, she can't, her deputy, or she can't
Enforce them not
enforce
to.
anything there, that would have to be.
That's why we have to, and that's why it's scheduled for this Thursday, since you don't have a lease on the property since last June. So, last July. And so, we have to chain the entrances and mark it private, and it's no longer public parking. We don't have a choice. We, just like you, we struggle with budgets, as you have been tonight, and you've done a remarkable job weaving through all that. The issue for us is, it's financial. It's all economics, folks. I mean, if you can repave it, we can enter into whatever agreement you need.
But we can, but the lot, if we were to agree to this, the repaving doesn't have to be done tomorrow. It can hold up for a little bit long. I mean, it can hold up for a while till those funds build up to where we can afford to pay.
We would have to use some of those
There would have
funds.
to be a patch or something.
There's still maintenance required every year on
And that
this.
was my question.
Go ahead,
It still has to be, it has to be sealed and restriped again next year.
So,
And
Mr. Giles, according to this lease, the city and the church was supposed to meet like every June or July to talk over repaving or restriping or the potholes and so when you came to the city or whoever contacted the city and tried to negotiate getting that work done, did you not get a good response from us, or do you think that there was a lack in maybe meeting and trying to negotiate?
well, we're talking years now.
Okay, yeah, and I know that.
But I mean, first of
Yeah.
all, you've had councils that didn't even know that you had a lease on it.
Okay.
I think we had to write you a check for $20 because we.
Well, you never did write the check, by the way.
Okay.
But you did write a $44,000 check to start with, and so we forgive you the $20.
Thank you.
The issue is that, that agreement, neither one of us held the other
Okay.
to the once a year review
Okay.
and to look at the lot and say, okay, what does it need?
Great,
How much
okay.
does it cost?
That's
And
what
let's go in.
I wanted to hear.
In the 20 years, we've done it one time, and that was last year. And it was about the sealed job and the striping was a little over $9,000, and we split that cost.
Okay, good.
And so we're hoping not to spend $9,000 a year because the gross revenue for the church is 6,000 from you and 6,000 from us. That's 12 grand a year. That's 5 years to even pay the paving, and we gotta somehow get it to last that long. And quite frankly, it isn't gonna be 57 or 58,005 in 5 years. It's going to be more like 65 or 70. So we're still gonna have an issue. But splitting, if we're gonna take responsibility for taking care of the lot and you don't have any, and you get to use it, $500 is the low end. I mean, we weren't trying, we're not making any money here, folks. This is not a revenue stream for us. This is to offset expense and cost.
And we
And
didn't know how you came up with your 500.
Well,
When it came before.
Well, 5 times 12.
Well, but we didn't have this information, so.
Yeah, well, 5, that was in the agreement originally, is the sharing, and to put it in the kitty. We can't give you a refund because the whole idea is to accumulate money to keep the lot going, keep
That
it
was
up.
the question that council had sent out before, so
Yeah, I
obviously
mean,
they didn't
again,
realize it was being saved. And
we don't have any buses on Sunday, and we don't have any beer trucks in there. You do. And so, and they're needed in the city, and you don't have a parking lot as big as that anywhere in the city. You own the one.
Yeah, but those vehicles could find it.
Yeah, but
RVs.
you own the one on by next to Stein, but you can't put any one of those trucks in there. The beer trucks can't get there. They park in the big lot. And we're not opposed to those things. We just gotta say, economically, we can't afford to maintain the lot for beer trucks to use or RVs.
And I think that's, with the Economic Development Corporation having invested in that parking lot for tourism, for residents, people who are visiting town and generating sales, and businesses that are generating sales tax revenue. The purpose, as far as the lease versus the facility use agreement go, Lynn, I know you were asking about why don't we just do another lease like this? It was the previous city administrator, a few city administrators back. And we've rotated, I mean, I've sat down with Don and his team with a few different city administrators over this. And so it was a previous one that wanted to change it to our standard facility use.
No, it was my recommendation,
your
and I still
recommendation?
recommend that. I
Okay.
would not lease this
Okay.
parking lot.
But whatever it is about the lease that's attractive, we can put that language into our facility use agreement.
I don't, we can go in closed session if y'all want to talk about it.
Why don't you want, yes, Tony?
I think, I mean, it sounds like, I just looked at the numbers and I did the math, it's 28,000 feet. And so it's $2 a square foot. It's a very reasonable price on that quote from Chastain. So if we do the $500, I'd be happy to do the $500 a month. But I think we need to put some sort of a height barrier or something on the
Or weight barrier.
Well, I mean, that's not going to stop anybody, but
Yeah.
height.
Oh, or yeah,
Yeah,
that
so
one's not.
keep the trucks out. I'd like to keep the trucks and the RVs and the school buses out of there. There's no reason for them to be in there. Why can't they park on the street?
Are y'all good with that?
Maybe we can,
I think we
can help you. and
can look
invest
at
in-
it. We need to do a little bit of cogitating on that measuring, and we've got the rest of, Mitch is the chair of our trustees, and they're responsible for our assets, and he's got a whole team that's got to.
But that would help preserve that asset, make it last longer, so.
The language and bullet points are not the issue. This is economics.
Yeah, but I mean, if you put an 8 foot is what we put in all of our garages. That allows.
We're not enforcing anything. They can't get through if you have a barrier.
It'll stop the beer trucks and the barrier.
Yeah.
Yes, Jeff?
Well, is it to think so far out the box or it not to be a revenue stream? Because I feel like you would make more money charging for parking than you make off of us.
Do you,
500.
my only retort to that is, do you want to be the only Texas Hill Country town with paid parking?
Yes.
Necessary, we may have to. I mean, that's the question. 'cause
Everyone
funds
I
like
talk
us.
to says Bernie does not pay to park, Fredericksburg does not pay to park, Comfort does not pay to park, Kerrville does not pay to park. Do not make people pay to park in Bandera, Texas. And we've had the discussion internally, And it's a fight, just in our church to even bring it up and discuss it.
And have you reached out to EDC and maybe the partnering businesses near you that are utilizing this parking lot to actually help with some of the resources as well?
But let's get back to the real challenge. The parking lot's condition didn't happen with Toyotas coming into parking. It is the commercial vehicles and RVs and heavy equipment. The idea of putting a bar, up on the entrances, that may be something that we need to do regardless of the end result of our economic agreement here. But this is all about being able to keep the parking lot. And say, we've had people come out and say, can you just put a cap on this one and leave it under there? They say, no, it won't work. It won't stay, and it'll wear out even faster. So it lasted 20 years from our last effort. And neither one of us are ready to write a check for $60,000 to do it right now. So we understand that. We can't do it either. If we could, we just put the chains up, pave it, and tell you, nice knowing you. But that's not really good for us, and it certainly isn't good for our city. And we're our city.
Appreciate that.
It's our city.
Right.
Right.
I agree. And if we were ever gonna do a paid parking to me would be like some type of city permit for residents or something, so I could kind of.
Well, how do you work out when somebody comes in there with a trailer and takes up 3 or 4 parking places?
Well, hopefully that was.
Tony,
I'd like to just approve the facility use agreement for $500, but if we're gonna invest that $500, I would like to get those height barriers put up. I mean, even if we have to fund a portion of that and come back to the EDC and request that we fund half of that, I would be happy to fund half out of our
some
budget.
high school building students.
It can be done relatively inexpensive. It maybe cost $100,000 or something, to do 2 of them. But I think it.
So do we have this in our budget to do the $500?
Well, we didn't budget for it, no. But I think at this time, what we'd like to do is go into closed session for consultation with attorney to see how to best proceed. So it's 7:22, guys, we're gonna recess the open portion of our meeting for consultation with attorney.